Can a wife disagree? Can she preach? Can she earn more? Can she refuse sex in marriage? These and many more difficult questions will I be answering today in our part 3 of the submission series. So welcome back everyone. If you're new to the channel, I'm Adeshola Akiade, and on this channel we talk about godly relationships, biblical courtships, and kingdom marriage principles. Allow me to say it here that if you're here to check out part 1 and part 2 of this submission series, you may want to do that as soon as possible. I'll put the link in the description box below, so check it out and watch it. It will give you a broader and a round understanding of what we've been talking about. Today we're answering difficult questions, and the first is whether or not a wife can disagree with her husband in their marriage. Yes, she can. You're a human being, same with your husband. Both of you are fallible. Both of you do not know it all. You have your core strengths. He has his core strengths. You have your core weaknesses. He has his core weaknesses. The both of you have to complement each other. And in doing that, you communicate certain things. In doing that, you won't agree on certain matters. You are not a robot. You have your own thinking faculty. Remember the story of Sarah that I shared in the part 2 of the series. And that story is where she told her husband to send Hagar and his son, and her son rather, well, that's their son, out of the house because she does not want to live with them. Abraham's stance before then was to have both the promised child and the child outside the promise living in the house. But Sarah disagreed with that stance and she made that known. She communicated that. God sanctioned it. What am I saying? You're a human being and you should not see your husband making wrong decisions and think you don't have the right to correct it or to disagree with that stance. It is how you go about it that matters. And that's what I will dwell on more. It's how you go about it that matters. Number one, I said it earlier in part 2 that it is you saying it respectfully, ensuring that even in disagreeing, you're honoring him. Even when you're saying the exact opposite of what he's saying, you're honoring him. You're not disrespecting him because you disagree with him. That's the first thing. The second thing is to make use of your power to negotiate. So he wants the family to relocate to the UK, for instance, but you don't want it. You want the both of you, you want all of you to stay in Nigeria, maybe for the next 10 years. Make use of your power of negotiation. These are skills you will need even in marriage. Negotiation would mean bringing your strong reasons and doing it respectfully. These are the reasons I believe we should not take the children to the UK. We should not relocate now to the UK because of these reasons, these reasons. Consider this. Bring your strong reasons. Talk about it. Collaborate. At the end of the day, you may realize that based on everything you would have discussed, you may now say, both of you can now come to the conclusion of, okay, let's stay in Nigeria, or because each will bring the strong reasons, because that's the way it works. It's collaboration and negotiation. Each will bring the strong reasons, because a good leader should not just enforce the rules and expect everybody to go with it. No, you would turn into a dictator and you silence your family. That's not a good way to lead them. He's expected to come with strong reasons and also let you know why. Eventually, both of you may decide to not relocate to the UK, but relocate to another country based on all the reasons you brought together. So negotiate. You have the right to disagree, but say it respectfully and negotiate. Now, consequential matters, especially where because eventually after all the negotiation, collaboration, it still remains the head of the home and you also submit to him in everything. Yeah, so let me say that, because I'm not saying disagree and go your own way, let him go in his own way. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that eventually after the collaboration and negotiation, his word still remains law, but if you've done all of those ones well, you should be able to get your way. Now, if you are not able to get your way, that's if what you are presenting is not sounding right and is not approving it. If they are very consequential matters, don't leave it there. Number one, engage the power of prayers. And that this one, the power of prayers, you should engage it whether they are consequential or not consequential. If you believe this is what will benefit your family, engage the power of prayers. You serve a God who can turn the hearts of kings, and he can turn it wherever God wills. God can turn it wherever he wills. So you have that God, you serve that God, engage it. Talk to God about it. Let God whisper to him at night. Let God whisper to him in the day. And of course, that same man will be the one coming to you and telling you, I've been thinking about this thing, the same thing you've been telling him for months and weeks that he hasn't been listening to. You serve a God that can do that. So whether it's a consequential matter, whether it's one that does not carry so much weight, engage the power of prayers. The second one is engage a higher authority. Engage a higher authority. This is something that will have a tremendous effect on the family. Engage a higher authority. The example that is coming to my mind, which I may cite later, is where a husband comes and says, "My dear wife, my loving wife." You know, there's this trend that I've observed, and I think we can have that trend in our marriage. What's this trend I'm talking about? This trend will give us freedom. It will grant us the ability to do what we want and explore. So I'm talking about the both of us having a open marriage where you can go out, I can go out, and we can also come together. Now that is permitting sin. If you say you cannot disagree, much more than permitting sin, you can disagree on those fronts. Those are very consequential things. That can ruin your marriage. That should even show that there's something wrong. For your husband to suggest that in a Christian home, there's already something fundamentally wrong. What are the people he's talking to? What are the people he's working with? What are the things he's been exposed to? There's already something wrong. He can bring up that. So I'm saying engage a higher authority. Go to someone that he honors, he respects, he fears. And that is why you should have that sorted out from the beginning of your relationship. So that you won't just now start looking for someone or a couple to report to when such arises. And engage that higher authority who can call him to order and ensure that your family is safe and is secure. All I'm saying is that she can disagree, but she should do it in honor and with respect. She should also negotiate. She should engage the power of prayers, report to a higher authority if it's something that needs a stronger hand. The next question is whether or not a woman can earn more than her husband. Yes, you can earn more. There's nothing wrong with it. The power to make wealth that God gives us is not gender partial. He didn't give the man and he forgot about the woman. He didn't say, oh, it only applies to the single woman, not the married woman. No, 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 no. That's not the way it works. So, yes, God has given you the power to make wealth, which may imply being more wealthy than your husband in certain situations. It is how you go about such situations that matters, because that's what leads to different arguments and disagreements in the marriage. As a single woman, what I would tell you is please choose a secure man, especially if you know that you really want to aim for the best, you want to get the best in your career financially, you are really aiming for the top. Marry a very, very secure man. You need someone who is secure in himself, who knows himself, knows his worth, and is not threatened by his wife's fame, popularity, wealth. Is not threatened by that. So help yourself by choosing a secure man. That will save you a lot of stress. A lot of stress. If you're already married and by chance, perchance, you married an insecure man, wisdom is profitable to direct you. You need a lot of wisdom. You need a lot of ego stroking. Here's what I mean. You already married a man who is feeling somehow because of how wealthy you are. You will need to handle him based on his level. You already chose what you chose. Yeah. So number one is ensure that, and this still applies to the woman that married a secure man. If you are earning more than your husband, it still applies to you. Ensure you allow him take his own responsibility and carry his own burdens and his own load in that family. So don't incapacitate him because you earn more than him. And there are a lot of women who are falling into this trap. Who maybe because you earn some $1,000 more than your husband, you take up all of the family responsibilities. So then it gets to a point where the husband stops feeling needed, he stops feeling wanted, and just he relaxes. He stops doing anything in the house. These same women will now be the ones coming up and coming out to say, "Oh, my husband is irresponsible. He does not take up responsibility. You incapacitated him. You got him to that place at that point where he didn't see the need to contribute again, because you showed that you can carry everything yourself, and marriage is not God in design for somebody to carry alone. So don't by your own hand incapacitate your husband. Ensure that he's also contributing his own quota in the grand scheme of things, maybe 20%. That's financially, but ensure he's contributing. Ensure he feels needed, he feels wanted. Whether you marry a secure man or an insecure man, ensure that part. Ensure you are doing your own part there. Ensure that you don't, by your words, you don't by your actions, you don't make him feel less of himself. You don't make him feel less wanted. So do that. Now, to the one who married an insecure man, I will now say, in addition to doing that, you will do a lot of ego stroking. Ego stroking. And I believe you can apply it to your own situation. If this is a man that before you can get him to, so let me cite an example. And this one may not even be, it may not be the perfect example, but I know someone whose husband does not. So if they want to buy, let's say, a clothing wear for the children, the husband believes in buying thrift wears or very, very, very cheap clothes. And very, very, very cheap clothes may not be quality clothes. The wife would want to buy quality clothes, which means expensive clothes, because she can afford it and she can add it to that money, to the family money, so we can get it for the children. But the husband wouldn't want that. And anytime she does it without the husband knowing, they end up fighting. So what's the wisdom applicable in our own situation? The wisdom is to also downplay the expensiveness of that cloth. So let's say they buy an Ankara for 50,000, and it's a very good one, quality one for 50,000. What the wife will come to say is how that, "Oh, I got a very, very good offer. This clothes, do you know this clothes is worth even much more than what I got?" It's wisdom, oh. The wisdom that is applicable in your own situation. Please apply it. So she would downplay the cost. She would downplay the cost. She would say it as though, "My goodness, this is quality and I got it for a cheaper price," because she knows the kind of husband she married. So this is where you now be looking for the wisdom that is applicable in your own case. In her own case, she has to downplay how expensive it is so that she won't end up having an argument with the husband. If you married an insecure man, you have to carry your cross and trust God for the wisdom to deal with that man. Another thing you should do that will save you the stress of having to stroke his ego is to expose him to wiser men. Men learn more by what they see than what you tell them. So if he's in a circle where he's seen secure men loving their family, contributing, helping their wives soar, not downplaying the strength of their women. If he's seeing that often, there is a way he just knows to step up and to be more secure, to work more on himself. So there's a way he just learns to be more, to do more, to work on himself. Expose him to that circle. Expose him to that circle. And trust God. Engage prayers. Engage prayers. All through, engage prayers in everything you're doing. Engage prayers. Engage prayers. The last thing I'll say here is, and this is to answer the question of women who say that, "Oh, I married him. When I married him, he was earning more, but now I'm earning more, and he lost his job, so he's earning little to nothing. How do I go about that situation?" I'll say take the advice that I gave to the woman who married an insecure husband. Yes, you need that because he's in a season where he's more vulnerable, he feels less needed, because finances is a major thing for men. And if he's not contributing as much as he used to, it would affect him too. So you want to be more loving, more understanding, more respectful. I'm saying you've been a respectful wife before, but you now do times two of what you've been doing because you want to reinforce it in his mind that you still love him, you still honor him, regardless of his financial situation. Yeah. So it's wisdom in that season. That season, you may feel overwhelmed as the woman because you're contributing a lot financially. He's probably acting up because he feels you're disrespecting him, even when you're not. So, in those moments, I would say ensure you are with your own company, ensure you reach out to your own women to just encourage you, strengthen you. You may not divulge everything that is going on, but just to be around them because you may not get so much of that emotional support from him in that season. Wisdom should also tell you that if it is going to the extreme, take it to a higher authority that you respect so that it too can be called to order and you both can have a thriving home. The next question is whether or not a woman can preach. That is, can a wife preach? Yes, you can. Let's start with the ministry of reconciliation that's been given to us in First Corinthians, and it is without any gender dichotomy. It's not for the man alone, and there's no Jew, there's no Greek, there's no male, there's no female before God. So when it comes to your assignment, it's not about your gender. If you're a spirit man, and you will have to account for it. Some even say the ministry of reconciliation that we've all received is not is without a gender bias. Let me correct myself. Is without a gender bias. Let's now move to the ministry gifts. If you as a woman, as a wife, has been called into the teaching ministry as a prophet, an apostle, an evangelist, a teacher, God expects you to fulfill your calling, or into the helps ministry that we see in Romans. God expects you to fulfill your ministry. But my major conversation is about preaching. God expects you to fulfill your ministry. God expects you to fulfill your calling. God expects you to not give an excuse. So your husband is not an excuse. Your children are not an excuse. You won't go before God and say, "Oh, I didn't preach because of my children." No. You will trust God for the wisdom and you trust God for the how. So a woman shared a testimony some days ago. She's a mother with two kids and a wife as well. In her testimony, she talked about how that she had been going through a lot, depression, a lot of emotional instability. Her prayer life had gone down. That it was so bad that she was almost considering leaving her husband. Everything was not really working for her. She was already doubting herself. And one of the core reasons behind that is because she believed she was not doing ministry the way God would have wanted her to do ministry. So she said in her thoughts, she had gotten to a point where she was almost like, damn all of this, damn the consequences. I'll leave my husband and do ministry. But God healed her soul and helped her see how she can do ministry and do it effectively while raising her children, while being married. Ideas began to drop in her mind. She saw that first and foremost, her children, they're not an excuse. And marriage is not an excuse. God expects that marriage to make her better, that husband to make her better. She said she started seeing pictures of how, as she's dropping the kids at work, she could maybe do both evangelism, talk to one or two people as she's walking, to reach out to women that are going through what she went through, and God has helped her overcome and minister to them. She said ideas began to drop. What am I saying? Your husband is not an excuse. Your children, they are not an excuse. God expects you to fulfill your calling while still being effective as a wife and as a mother. Because let's not get this twisted. As a single person, the Bible tells us that you have all the time to devote to the Lord. As a married man or woman, your time is divided. You should understand that. You have a responsibility to your family. You have a responsibility to God. You should now trust God for the wisdom and trust God to teach you and give you ideas on how to do both well. So can you preach? Yes, you can. It's without there's no gender bias. There's no. But one thing I will say is, if you know you have a calling into ministry, start doing it as a single person. The person that is coming should see you doing that. If perhaps you get that call in marriage, communicate it to your partner. Pray about it. Tell God, and this is you engage prayers, though. Especially when the man didn't sign up for it when he got married to you, and you got to realize it later on. Oh, you will do a lot of prayers for God to soften his heart and to go ahead of you to ensure that your words they land on that soft spot and they get the approval you need for you to do what you need to do in ministry. Do you get? But yes, you can preach. We see Deborah in the Bible. She was a prophetess, a judge in Israel. We see Phoebe in the Bible as a minister of God. We see Priscilla in the Bible. So yes, you can, even as a married woman. And Priscilla was married to Aquila. You see the Bible always saying Priscilla and Aquila, Aquila and Priscilla. So don't let anyone tell you otherwise. The next question, which I believe I already answered in the part 2, is can a wife correct her husband? Yes, you can. You can. Marriage should not silence your voice. It should not stop you from thinking. So if you see that something is not going the way you ought to, speak up, correct him in love and with respect. Let me move to the next question. Can a wife refuse sex in marriage? Can a wife refuse sex in marriage? Theoretically, no. Practically and in reality, yes. And I will explain how it should go. Theoretically, the Bible makes us understand in 1 Corinthians that both of you should not deny each other of your conjugal obligation. The husband should not deny the wife should not deny the husband, except by agreement. So let's say the wife wants to go on a fast and she does not want to be distracted by the way that you're fasting does not mean you cannot have sex. Hope you know that. It does not. God is happy with you. God created it. But if you really want to not have it and you want to be focused, communicate it to your husband. If it's the husband, communicate it to your wife. And by mutual agreement, stay away from each other for a time, then come together so Satan will not take advantage of that. That's what Paul says, which means that in reality, there will be times and there can be times where one person is refusing sex, but it should be by agreement. That's why I said theoretically, you say no, you cannot. But if you look at that verse, there are exceptions. It's a principle in that verse that I will dwell on. That's the principle of mutual agreement. By implication, it also extends to your power to negotiate and collaborate. Because that's how you get someone to agree with you. You have to learn how to negotiate as a wife. If it means reading books on negotiation tactics, you have to learn it because you will need it a lot. Plus prayer. So let's use tiredness for instance. You've had a long day at work, you're tired, and your husband taps you in the middle of the night to ask for sex. And you're tired. The principle of negotiation and the end is to get him to agree. It's not to force your opinion, it's to get him to agree. You cannot say something like, oh my dear, I'm very exhausted. I'm very tired. I cannot even give you the best that you deserve. So allow me sleep for the next 4 to 5 hours. And after that, I will even set an alarm to give you what you want. That's you negotiating. A man that hears that, and say it respectfully, a man that hears that would most likely not refuse you. He will most likely allow you sleep. Because you just made sense. So what you are trying to do is to get him to agree. How you do that may differ. This is just an example. Do you get? It's to get him to agree. So in reality, there may be times where the woman may refuse sex, but it should be by mutual agreement. Yeah. So you negotiate your way to get him to agree. But does this mean that it will work every time? No. There will be times where the husband will insist. And this will take us back to the theory, which is a wife should not deny her husband of his conjugal rights. The same thing for the husband. The husband should also not deny the wife of her conjugal rights. Do you get? I hope you understand. Let's move to the next question. Can she refuse sin? Can a wife refuse sin as a submissive wife, as a loving wife? Can she refuse sin? Yes. In fact, that should be a no-brainer. It should be a no-brainer. Because as a believer, God has called you to holiness and righteousness. And your marriage ought to depict Christ and the church. Is it that same marriage that should now start depicting unholiness, unrighteousness? No. That goes against God's plan and God's agenda for the marriage. So can you refuse sin? Yes, you can. Let's go back to that example, that open marriage example. That is the husband suggesting sin, that you both bring a third party. And the Bible says in Hebrews that marriage is honorable unto all and the bed undefiled. That is you going against God's instruction. You can outrightly say no and God sanctions it. Remember the story of Ananias and Sapphira? Mm-hmm. She was not being a submissive woman by following her husband to sin against God, but she was just being a foolish woman. Because God expects you to honor him even in your marriage. So if your husband is suggesting something that looks like sin or the appearance of evil, the onus is on you as a child of God to refuse it. And if he's insisting to get an authority, an higher authority into the matter, because it's already beyond you, you can refuse him. Let's move to the last question for today. Can she lead family prayer? Yes, she can.
And I love that you copy and paste this answer into other areas that go beyond the spirituals. So can she handle the family businesses? Can she handle the finance department? Can she make certain decisions, take up responsibilities in the house and direct the affairs of the house? Yes, she can. Being the leader does not mean you are leading every time. And by leading every time, it does not mean you are taking up responsibilities every time and directing how it should go. If that is you, I dare say you're being a bad leader as a husband. Because you are a husbandman. You are a groomsman. One of your core duties is to ensure your wife becomes all that God has destined her to become. And how best can you do this unless you allow her take up responsibilities and you allow her make mistakes, correct those mistakes, and become better? You have to learn to trust your wife with responsibilities. Else, you will have with you a woman who does not trust her decisions, who has to call you every time to make even the littlest of decisions. I've had cases of women like that who they can't trust their decisions because their husbands never gave them the opportunity to do that, to make decisions, make mistakes, and be better. Don't incapacitate your wife, is what I'm saying. Don't incapacitate your wife. The example that comes to mind is that of David and his strong men. David trained with these men, and much more than training them, he trained them. He trained them so much that when he stopped going to war with them, they were still bringing news of victory to him. So these were trained men. These were men that could easily step in for him and do the things that he could do and do much more, even much more. Be that husband. Be that husband. So it means you've recognized that this is a core area of strength. Help her take the lead. Help her lead the family. She's better at this area. She's better at doing these things. Help her. Give her responsibilities so she can develop those muscles. You've also recognized that, oh, she's weak in this area. Don't say because she's weak in that area, you won't allow her handle anything in that area. No. Push her to take courses. Push her to learn. Push her to read books. And give her responsibilities in that area. Ensure she's leading in those areas. Help her make those mistakes early. You have to help her convert even those areas of weaknesses into areas of strength. Physical examples that are coming to my mind are that of Mommy Patience Oyo and Mommy Sarah Omaku. Their husbands went to be with the Lord early, but the gap didn't show in the ministry because these women were trained. Their husbands made sure that these women could easily step in and they could do what their husbands were doing and even much more. So don't incapacitate your wife. Have her lead the family in different areas. Don't be that man whose wife cannot do anything unless she calls him. Don't be that man. To all our viewers that stayed till the end, thank you everyone. You guys are the real MVPs. We love you and there's nothing you can do about it. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Have a blessed day.